What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel Hand Waving. Your friend Naruto Addict 2.0 is here again with a brand new Naruto fanfic that's going to change everything. Today's fanfic is titled, What If Naruto Was Betrayed by Sasuke, Saved by Hinata, and Raised by Kakashi's Regret? Part 2. Let's start this fanfic. Kakashi was surprised that Naruto hadn't been told this yet. He didn't realize that his fellow Junin had instructed their students not to discuss this matter with Naruto until he was informed of his true heritage. Yes, Naruto, Jiraiya and I decided yesterday that it is time for the truth to come out. Your father was both a student of Jiraiya and my very own sensei. He was the greatest shinobi this village has ever produced and its bravest Hokage. Naruto, you are the only son of Yondaime, the fourth Hokage and savior of the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto had always dreamed that his father was a legendary ninja, but upon hearing who he actually was, he literally fainted. I guess I should have eased him into that a little bit better. Kakashi thought, as he adjusted the pillow under Naruto's head and sat down waiting for him to wake up with the myriad of questions he was sure to ask upon hearing this news. Meanwhile, back at Hokage Tower, two legendary Sannin lay on the floor of Lady Tsunade's office, panting and exhausted from their private meeting. As Tsunade rested her head on Jiraiya's chest, she says appreciatively, "Well, you might a lazy degenerate fool in everything else, but you're still a master at one thing. You still know how to push all the right buttons with me." Jiraiya smiled and lovingly kissed the top of her head before reaching into his satchel to retrieve a very small box and says with sincerity, "Only you bring out the best in me, my lady, and I would be happy to make this a full-time effort on my part, if you would do me the honor of becoming my wife." He then opened the box and presented to Tsunade the largest diamond ring she had ever seen in her entire life. Tsunade was captivated for a moment by the sheer brilliance and beauty of the ring before she closed the box and handed it back to Jiraiya and groaning with frustration said, "Damn it, Jiraiya, not again. Why can't you accept the way things are?" Jiraiya angrily got off the floor and walked over to the entrance of the balcony to gaze at Hokage Mountain, before finally speaking, the hurt evident in his tone. "Accept what, Tsunade? Am I supposed to accept being some sort of toy whom you secretly for your own pleasure and amusement? Well, I've grown weary of this. We've been doing this dance for 35 years now, and I want more. I've always wanted more. Tell me something. Do you have any love in your heart for me at all?" Tsunade upon hearing this rose to her feet, her body quivering and a tear streaming down her cheek to angrily say, "How can you even ask me that? I bore you a son 35 years ago. Isn't that enough to prove I have love for you? Yes, you gave me a son you never told me about. A son I didn't get to meet until he was 10 years old. A magnificent son, so honorable and brave, that he would sacrifice his life in saving this village. We had a magical night 35 years ago, the first time I made love to you. But in all honesty, Tsunade, the fact that we produced such a wonderful child as Minato is not a testament of your love for me. It is only the biological results of that special night so long ago." Jiraiya says with despair, "You can't lay all of that on me, Jiraiya. You're the one who left 35 years ago, not me." Tsunade replies, her voice still ringing with anger and sadness. "What choice did I have? I asked you to marry me that night and you rejected me. I had nothing left to keep me here. No family, not the girl I loved, my training with Sarutobi was done, nothing. Besides, someone had to keep an eye on your childhood boyfriend after he betrayed us all." Jiraiya responds with resentment. "Damn you, Jiraiya. I was 16 when you first asked me to marry you, a child practically. I didn't know what I wanted. As for not telling you about our child, I'm sorry, but you were gone, and I was alone and scared and I didn't know what to do, and I certainly didn't know what you would do either. And you know damn well that Orochimaru was never my boyfriend. It was just a simple crush, that's all." Tsunade pleadingly says, "Those are convenient excuses, my dear. We stopped being children the night we made love and conceived our child that first time. The reason you just gave for not telling me about our son is rather insulting to me, don't you think? You were all alone by choice. You knew if you told me about him, I would have come back in a heartbeat, and not just for him, but for you as well. Yes, I believe you were scared, but it wasn't from not knowing what to do. You were scared to face me. That I would insist upon marriage for us. It's sad now that I think about it. For you to believe that I would ever force anything upon you without your consent just proves how little you understand how deep my love is for you. And I know it was a crush, but it was a crush that I had to endure all those years growing up. Always finishing second in your eyes to him, always giving my love to you and never having it returned, until that night. Then, when I asked you to be my wife and you said no, it was the final straw, I guess. I just couldn't take the pain anymore of loving you so much, only to be rejected time and time again. So, yes, I did leave, but the funny thing is, the love I have for you never went away, nor did the pain. Jiraiya replies in an anguished voice, as he puts away the ring and slowly begins to put his clothes on. Tsunade sank into her chair in a heap. She knew deep down that everything Jiraiya had said to her was the truth. All she could do was stare at the father of her only child as he finished dressing and quietly say to him, "You could have come back, I wouldn't have minded." Jiraiya paused for a moment and looked at his lifetime love before saying, "I did come back, my love. I came back after the death of your little brother Nawaki to help and comfort you. We ended up making love again and I asked you to marry me once more. And again you rejected me, don't you remember? I also came back a few years after that to try once more to win your heart. However, upon my return, I found you had fallen in love with a Junin named Dan. I saw the two of you together with a little boy whom I could only guess was yours and his child. The pain of seeing you was unbearable and I cursed myself and swore never to return to the Leaf Village again. I went to pay my respects to Sarutobi-sensei and it was he who finally broke his promise to you and told me the little boy I saw was not Dan's son but mine. He asked me to stay and foster a relationship with the child, but I couldn't. You hated us that much, Jiraiya?" Tsunade questioned angrily. "You misunderstand, my lady. I saw how happy you were and I loved you too much to interfere in that happiness. Perhaps I could have stayed, but the pain would have been torture. Seeing you so happy and knowing I could never be a part of your life and give you that happiness that I had so long to do. It cost me my son for a number of years, but Sarutobi had told me that Dan was a decent and honorable man and would raise my son with great care and affection. So, I left you to your happiness and me to my despair and vowed never to return." Jiraiya replies, trying to hold back his own tears. Tsunade looked up, and saw the tears in his eyes begin to flow. She had never realized how much he placed her happiness above his own. Even at the cost of his son. She didn't know what to say and then remembered something and said, stammering. But, you did return again, I remember. Yes, Tsunade, I did return once more. Sarutobi had contacted me after the death of Dan and pleaded with me to come back. He was growing concerned with how his death was affecting you and in turn affecting our child. I thought a long time about doing this and what it might mean. I didn't relish the idea of being the second choice once again, first to Orochimaru and now to Dan. Eventually, I decided that I wanted to make sure that the only two people I truly loved were alright. So, I swallowed my pride and pain and did come back. If you recall, I stayed for several months before you finally reached out to me. I was so happy when you did, and we ended up making love once more. Foolishly, I believed that you did truly love me and I asked you again to be my wife. When you didn't reject my proposal straight off and said you would give me your answer in the morning, I was happier than I had ever been in my life. I was so sure that you had finally opened your heart to me and we could be the family I had always dreamed of. Imagine the pain I felt when I awoke to a note pinned on your pillow with 2 words written on it, I'm sorry. I suppose the only positive out of your leaving was that it forced me to stay and take care of my son, even if he didn't know who I was. I couldn't very well leave the boy who had now lost his mother as well as his father figure within a span of a few months. Eventually, Sarutobi told him the truth about who I was and we were able to develop relationship. The common bond of that relationship, by the way, was how much we both loved and missed you. Tsunade sat in her chair quietly weeping. There was nothing she could say to Jiraiya to justify her actions, or how badly she had hurt him over and over again through the years. She slowly began to put her clothes back on, her head hanging down, too ashamed to even look at Jiraiya anymore. As Jiraiya leaned against the wall and watched his love get dressed in silence, he finally spoke once more. I guess there isn't anything left to say. I'm sorry Tsunade, this was my fault. I foolishly let my dream take hold of me again, when I asked you to be my wife once more. I should have realized that you reached out to me for comfort in response to almost losing our grandson. It seems to be the pattern in our lives, but it ends today. You need not worry about me proposing marriage to you anymore. I will give up that dream. As Jiraiya slowly turned towards the balcony to leave the office, he heard Tsunade speak in a choked voice and ask. You don't love me anymore. Jiraiya paused and without looking back quietly replied. Of course I still love you Tsunade. I love you as much today as I did 35 years ago, and I'll always love you till the day I die. I've just come to the realization that no matter how much I love you, your heart will never be mine. I only hope Naruto doesn't take 35 years to reach this conclusion with Sakura. He's been through so much in his short life, he deserves someone whom he can give his love to and have it returned. I don't want my grandson wasting the prime years of his life chasing after a hopeless dream like I did. You're comparing me to Sakura. Tsunade says defensively. Jiraiya turns to look back at Tsunade, and in a stern voice he says. I don't mean it to be an insult my love, but yes. The parallels are too strikingly similar when you think about it. Deep down, I think you know it as well. If I've hurt you by saying this, I'm sorry. If it's any consolation, you at least recognized with his betrayal what an evil being Orochimaru truly is. I don't however believe Sakura will ever accept this fact about Sasuke. I almost shudder to think what it will take for that girl to finally come to that realization. But for her sake, it had better be sooner than later. Goodbye Tsunade. As Jiraiya turns back to exit the room via the balcony, Tsunade pleading, calls out to him. Wait Jiraiya, please don't go. I'm sorry Tsunade, but there's no reason for me to stay. I'll be in the village periodically to help train Naruto with Kakashi. Once that is completed, I'll go and you won't have to deal with this lovesick fool anymore. I love you Tsunade, may you finally find someone you can love and get the happiness you deserve. And with that Jiraiya leapt off the balcony and into the streets of Konoha, leaving a visibly shaken Hokage clutching her arms to say to herself still weeping. I do love you Jiraiya. I've just never known how to say it to you. Tsunade advises Sakura. It had been over a week since Naruto's return to the village after his near death at the hands of Sasuke. Since then, the mood for many shinobi both young and old was dark and full of strife. In particular for the young, the Rookie 9 class was having difficulty in dealing with what they had learned about their friend Naruto and with their own anger towards their parents or guardians in regards to it. Their anger didn't stem from their parents not telling them about the actual fate of the Kyuubi demon and its relation towards Naruto. They begrudgingly understood that their parents were bound by the third Hokage's decree not to divulge what had happened 14 years ago to their children. What angered and upset Naruto's friends so greatly was the hateful attitude and treatment of Naruto by their parents' generation, and why some of them tried to instill those same attitudes into their very own children as well. Shikamaru for instance had gotten into a very heated discussion with his mother on this topic. And being the strategic genius he is, he expertly defeated every single argument of defense she could come up with for justifying her past actions. So much so, that after an hour of fierce debate between mother and son, she was unable to think of anything else to say and remained quiet for the rest of the evening. This was a rare moment in the Nara household, as Shikamaru's mother was well known in Konoha for years as the voice that never ends. Things were even worse at the Hyuga compound as Hiashi Hyuga, the head of the clan, had gotten into a violent argument with Hinata with regards towards Naruto in front of several members of the clan both main and side in the courtyard. Hiashi was very upset at what he perceived being judged by his own daughter for his past actions. He had also learned that Hinata had been visiting Naruto every day at the hospital and angrily ordered her to cease any more contact with the demon child, as he put it. Hinata's responded with a word Hiashi rarely heard in his life, no. In fact, Hinata had said this with such a defiant tone in her voice that Hiashi became enraged and openly raised his hand to strike Hinata for her disobedience. As he was about to deliver the blow, he noticed Neji and several other members of the Hyuga side branch studying the entire scene with great interest. For several years, the relationship between the main and side branches had been deteriorating and was beginning to reach a point of open resentment and defiance by the side branch towards the main. Hiashi decided that showing conflict within the main branch would do nothing more than embolden the side branch members even further. So, he merely lowered his arm and stormed out of the courtyard, leaving a shaken but still defiant Hinata behind. Other parents of the Rookie Nine, such as Shino, Choji, Kiba, and Inos had never openly directed or taught their kids to avoid Naruto growing up. No, their sin lay in the fact that they had never given or even offered any help or guidance to Boy during that time. For many, this was a bitter truth to face, but they accepted the criticism of their children on this subject, partly out of guilt and partly because they knew their kids were right. However, it wasn't just the young shinobi who were upset, but several high-ranking older shinobi were also in foul moods for various reasons as well. Lady Tsunade was upset with herself over her last encounter with Jiraiya, and was taking her frustrations out on everyone around her. She also was growing concerned about some disturbing Anbu reports she had been receiving on Orochimaru and Sasuke, as well as the Akatsuki. In fact, some of these reports were very troublesome to her because they lacked any hard factual information, only rumor as to what was going on. She finally decided that she needed more concrete information and sent Kakashi out on a covert mission several days ago to see what he could learn. What Tsunade didn't realize in ordering this mission was the frustration it caused Kurenai, as she had been unable to see or talk to Kakashi since the night she mended his injuries. Jiraiya had left the village after visiting Naruto to gather research for his novels, as he was apt to do. However, the truth of the matter was he needed some space away from Tsunade to think and reflect upon a great deal of things. In an ironic twist, the happiest shinobi in the village out at the moment was Naruto, who was still basking in the glow of learning who his father was and of the advanced training he would soon be learning. The news also seemed to help speed up his recovery time, as he was beginning to heal at an astonishing rate considering the severity of his injury. Naruto wasn't fully out of danger quite yet, but if he remained stress-free he could be released within a matter of weeks. As for Sakura, the past week had been a nightmare that she was unable to awaken from. Since the disbanding of Team Number 7, she spent most of her time in her room or aimlessly walking the streets of Konoha in a daze since she had nothing to do. She had spoken to no one since talking to her mother about what had happened that terrible day in the hospital. Since that day, Sakura's parents Taro and Ishii had been arguing constantly about which one was to blame for their demotions in rank by the Hokage. So, talking to either of them would be even more futile than usual. It was also pointless to try and talk to her former friends in the Rookie 9 class, as they were avoiding or just ignoring her presence whenever she was around. Sakura finally decided she had to speak to someone or go insane from loneliness as she slowly made her way towards Hokage Tower and Lady Tsunade. Shizune, bring me another bottle and be quick about it. Tsunade yells to her assistant. Shizune merely sighed as she got up from her desk and retrieved another bottle for the Hokage. She looked up to see the time and shook her head. Every day this past week Lady Tsunade had started earlier and earlier in her drinking. Shizune knew something was bothering her friend and mentor, but Tsunade would not divulge what it was. She suspected the Hokage's recent foul mood that Shizune had bore the brunt of the past several days, had something to do with Jiraiya. Her suspicion was reinforced by the fact that one of the reports she had left for the Hokage to review regarded Jiraiya leaving the village. As she approached the door to Lady Tsunade's office she took a deep breath and with a strained smile entered the office with the bottle and approached the Hokage. Shizune set the bottle down and noticed that the file Tsunade was looking at was indeed the file about Jiraiya. She then stood and quietly waited to see Lady Tsunade required anything else. She received her answer in a hurry from the Hokage. Took you long enough, Shizune, now get out. I don't want to be disturbed for anything or anyone right now, you got that? Tsunade says to her friend, her voice filled with anger. Shizune stares at the Hokage for a moment, her smile lessening with each passing second before calmly replying in a voice tinged with disgust and pity. Very well, Lady Tsunade. I shall lock the door behind me and take an early lunch so you may indulge once again in your favorite pastime these last several days. Shizune turns to leave the office. As she is going, she hears Tsunade say, "Don't get flippant with me, Shizune. I can have you easily replaced if I want to." Shizune whirls around and places her hands on her hips, her smile gone as she responds in a voice now filled with derision and anger. "Don't threaten my job status, Tsunade. You and I both know that you couldn't find anyone else to take this job and deal with the way you've been acting this past week. But if you think you can, by all means fire me. Let someone else wait on you hand and foot and be your personal whipping boy for your drunken abuse. I can certainly use the rest." Shizune then turned around and stormed out the office door, slamming and locking it behind her, as she made her way outside and away from Tsunade as quickly as possible. Lady Suan sat in her chair in silence as she watched her friend leave, before taking a drink and grumbled to herself as she reflected upon what Shizune said. Damn it, the girl is probably right. I couldn't find anyone else to put up with my bullshit right now. God, if I don't figure out some things, I'll just end up driving her away just like everyone else I care about in my life. Just like I did to you, Jiraiya, as she gazes upon his file on her desk and slowly takes another drink. Lady Tsunade begins to pour herself another drink when she hears someone knocking on her office door. Tsunade, still angry and disgusted with herself over many things, shakes her head and annoyed replies. "Whoever you are, go away. I'm not seeing anyone right now. Come back later and set up an appointment with my assistant." As she begins to take another drink, she hears a small weeping voice begging call out. "Lady Tsunade, it's me, Sakura Haruno. I really need to talk to you if you would be willing to do so. No one else I know will. Please, Hokage-sama, I really need to talk to someone or I think I may go mad." "Sakura, I really don't need this right now. I have no idea what to do with this girl yet. But I can't turn her away. Well, this day just keeps getting better and better." Tsunade thought to herself as she got up and made her way towards the door to let the distraught Kunoichi in. As Tsunade unlocked her office door and let Sakura in, she couldn't help but notice that Sakura's face and walk reminded her of a defeated soldier walking off the battlefield. Her face bore the look of someone in complete and utter defeat in oneself. She watched as the young Kunoichi slowly sank into the chair in front of the Hokage's desk, with her head hanging low, and solemnly waited for Lady Tsunade to take her own seat and speak. Tsunade took her chair and after a minute to let the girl compose herself finally spoke. "All right, Sakura, what seems to be troubling you?" Sakura slowly lifted her head to look at the Hokage and in a choked voice replied. "Everything, Lady Tsunade. I don't know who or what I am anymore. I'm completely lost since my Sasuke-kun left, and with the ending of Team Number 7, I don't know what to do anymore. Normally, I would talk to my friends or Kakashi-sensei whenever I had a problem in the past and they would help me. But they all have abandoned me now and won't speak to me. I've tried looking for Kakashi-sensei to try and apologize and hopefully talk with him again, but I cannot find him anywhere. I feel so tired and alone anymore, Hokage-sama. I never realized before how important being on a shinobi team was until it was gone. Without it, I feel as though I have no purpose in life anymore. If that's the case, what is point of continuing to exist? I'm sorry, Lady Tsunade, I know you're a busy woman and I shouldn't be burdening you with this. But I needed someone to talk to and advise me, or I don't think I could stand living like this anymore." And with that, Sakura dropped her head again and began to quietly weep. Tsunade stared at Sakura and didn't say anything for several minutes as she tried to absorb what she had just heard from the young kunoichi sitting across from her. She could tell that mentally Sakura was on a precipice, metaphorically speaking, and Tsunade's response would have a great deal of impact on which way this young girl fell. Inwardly, Tsunade hated situations like this. Her own view or grasp on life was tenuous for herself at times. Now here she is facing a young girl with eyes pleading towards her for some sort of answers or guidance before she loses it completely. Finally, after what seemed an eternity to Sakura, Lady Suan spoke. First off, Sakura, you need not apologize for seeking my counsel. Part of a Hokage's duties is to always try and help the people of this village. Even if it is nothing more than lending an ear to listen or giving advice when asked. Thank you, Hokage-sama. Sakura softly replies. Secondly, Sakura, if I ever hear you refer to Sasuke as Sasuke-kun in my presence ever again, I will expel you from the academy and you can work the streets of Konoha for the rest of your life. I won't give a damn. Tsunade says with a vengeance. Sakura's eyes grew wide and her entire body stiffened upon hearing this. Her lips began to quiver as she sank a little lower into her chair in fear over the Hokage's last statement. I know that was harsh thing to hear, Sakura, but prepare yourself. I have a few more things to say that you may consider harsh as well, but you need to hear them. Tsunade says to the girl, the intensity in her voice dropping down. Sakura slowly nodded her head in response and waited to hear what the Hokage was going to say next. Now, Sasuke didn't just leave, he consciously chose to betray the Leaf Village and everyone in it, including you, Sakura, and ally himself with a being of pure evil. He did this all for the solely selfish reason of gaining power to kill with. I know you think you love Sasuke, but he has no love for you or anyone else other than himself. You need to get your head wrapped around this fact, Sakura, because if you ever do see Sasuke again, run for your life. It won't be a joyous reunion for you. He will kill you without hesitation if you impede his maniacal desire for more power. I tell you this for your own sake, girl. Do not trust Sasuke in anything. Besides, even before Sasuke went psychotic, he never expressed to you any kind of feelings that one might even remotely consider as love. You have a crush on Sasuke, which is harmless as a little girl, but you're not a little girl anymore, Sakura. You need to start seeing things as they actually are in life and not as you wish them to be. Sasuke is gone both mentally and physically. He has demonstrated his capacity to kill without mercy or forethought. Quite simply, Sasuke is a traitor to everyone and everything the village hidden in the leaves stands for. You need to understand and accept this, Sakura, and move on with your life. But Lady Tsunade, I'm sure that Sasuke is being controlled by Orochimaru somehow. I know he would never do on his own the things that have been said about him. He's a good person. He's just going through a difficult time since his brother injured him a few months ago. It's not a crush I have either, Hokage-sama. I truly do love Sasuke with all my heart, and I know Sasuke cares about me, I just do. Sakura pleadingly says. God damn it, Sakura, listen to yourself. Even now you attempt to defend that bastard after everything he's done. What is wrong with you, girl? Have you not heard a single thing that I have said? Sasuke and his new friends almost managed to kill 4 of your friends, and Sasuke himself tried to murder Naruto, all for the sake of gaining the Mangekyo Sharingan to kill with. And he did all of this willingly, Sakura. My God, what is it going to take for you to see and accept the truth about him? It's this kind of fairytale wishful thinking on your part about him that causes your friends to abandon, as you put it. Which they haven't, by the way. They're just upset with your insistent fangirl loyalty to that killer and traitor, as am I. In fact, it absolutely galls me that you can sit there and attempt to defend the things he's done. He tried to kill Naruto. Doesn't that mean anything to you? Sakura couldn't say anything as she hung her head in shame and began to openly weep before stammering out a weak, I'm sorry. Tsunade stares at her for a moment before saying in a stern voice. Stop your crying, Sakura. Tears are not going to solve any of your problems. You need to grow up and face your difficulties as a shinobi. You have a great many things to think about and some hard decisions to make about your life, Sakura. And you're the only one who can make these choices in regards to your future. You're at a crossroad, my dear, and which road you take only you can decide. Sakura merely nodded her head and wiping her tears away quietly said, I understand, Lady Tsunade. I hope so, Sakura, I really do. I don't say these things to you to be hurtful or cruel. But I pray that the power of my words is enough for you to understand the reality of things. As I said, not I or anyone else can help you with the decisions you have to make. However, I can help you in one way. I know it's been difficult for you this past week in regards to no longer being part of a team. But one's purpose in life is not solely based upon whether or not they are a part of a shinobi squad. It is an important facet of your life, but it shouldn't be the only reason for you to live as opposed to just existing. I promise you as Hokage that your training will continue in some form or fashion. I will speak to the other Junin team leaders this afternoon and see about getting you placed with one of them. You're too strong a shinobi and have so much potential, Sakura, that it would be a crime on my part to let that go to waste. Tsunade says reassuringly. Sakura lifts her head and looks at the Hokage, her eyes still puffy and red from crying, but also with a glimmer of hope that hadn't been there before she came into the office. She sniffles once more before saying, Thank you, Lady Tsunade. Sakura then rises from the chair and bows to the Hokage. Now, Sakura, I want you to go home and get some rest, and I want you to think very hard about what I've said to you today. I'll let you know as quickly as I can where your training can resume and with whom. Tsunade says with confidence. Yes, Hokage-sama, I shall. Sakura politely says as she heads towards the door. By the way, Sakura, how is Naruto doing? I've been so busy, I haven't been able to see him the last couple of days. Suand asks. I don't know how he is, Lady Tsunade, I haven't seen him since the day of his surgery. Sakura meekly says. Suddenly, Sakura is jolted by the impact of two palms slamming down onto the Hokage's desk, shaking the whole room from the impact before a voice echoes loudly in her ears. Sakura, I don't have the time or the patience to tell you how upset and disappointed I am in you that you haven't even bothered to visit and see how Naruto is doing, but that ends right now. Before you go home, I as Hokage am ordering you to go see Naruto and try and make things right with him. Because, if you don't, I'll solve your problem of merely existing another way. Now go. Tsunade says with vigorous anger as Sakura hurriedly leaves the office in absolute terror. Shizune was returning to Hokage Tower with some lunch she had purchased for herself and Lady Tsunade. When she was almost bowled over by Sakura, as she burst through the front doors running with a look of panic upon her face. As Shizune watched the pink-haired Kunoichi run towards the general direction of the nearby hospital, she wondered what could have put the girl into such a state. After a moment, she realized only one person could be responsible, Tsunade. Shizune then made her way to the Hokage's office to find the office door wide open and Tsunade sitting at her desk looking very despondent as he hands cupped her cheeks. Shizune quietly closed the office door behind her and asked, Lady Tsunade, are you okay? May I be of assistance to you? Tsunade looked up and slightly turned her head towards her friend and quietly said, No thank you, Shizune, I'll be alright. Please come in and sit down, I wish to talk to you for a moment. Shizune walked over and took the chair Sakura had been sitting in, and set the food off to the side as she waited for the Hokage to speak again. Lady Tsunade looked at her longtime friend for a moment and said, Shizune, my friend, I wish to apologize to you for the way I've acted this past week. I took some of the frustration and anger I have been feeling towards myself and taken it out on you. It was terribly wrong on my part. You are my closest friend in the world and I would be utterly lost without you. Your loyalty and friendship is one of my greatest, and I'm sorry I haven't expressed my gratitude for you more often. Even now, after treating you so badly earlier, I suspect you still brought me lunch in that bag over there. I truly don't deserve you, Shizune, please forgive this old fool's transgressions. And with that said, Tsunade bowed her head towards her assistant. Of course I forgive you, my friend and sensei. We've known each other too long and have been through too much together over the years. I would never abandon you over something as trivial as an argument. Shizune reassuringly replies. Abandon? That's the second time I've heard that word in this office today. Sakura believes all of her friends have abandoned her. Tsunade states, as she leans back in her chair. Yes, I was nearly knocked over by Sakura as I was entering the building. She looked panicked or terrified as she ran towards the hospital. Did something happen between the two of you while I was gone? Shizune asks. Lady Tsunade looked towards the ceiling and made a very long drawn-out sigh before saying. Yes, Shizune, the girl came to me in a frightful state seeking my counsel on some issues she's been trying to cope with this past week. I think, or at least I hope, that I was wise in the advice I was giving her. I'll admit I was a bit harsh with some of the things I said, but I felt a strong approach was needed to get through to her. I think I was doing a pretty good job with Sakura, up until I blew it at the end. What happened? Shizune asks. As Sakura was leaving, I asked her about Naruto's condition. To which she informed me that she didn't know because she hadn't visited Naruto. My response, of course, was to lose my temper and order the girl under my authority as Hokage to visit Naruto and make things right with him immediately. I also let it be known that failure to do so would be looked upon quite negatively on my part, and I might have implied that it could also impact Sakura's health as well. I'm such an idiot, Shizune. I just got so angry towards her because I know Naruto cares for her a great deal. So, because I didn't control my anger and lashed out at the girl, she's probably scared to death of me and will forget everything else I told her. Tsunade replies, as she silently curses herself. Would you like me to go find her? Shizune says. No, I'll speak with her again, but right now I don't think it would do any good. But I can keep my promise I made to her. Shizune, I need you to go find Asuma, Guy, and Kurenai and have them in my office in the next 30 minutes. Tsunade tasks her assistant to complete. As you wish, Hokage-sama. Shizune says, as she leaves the office to bring the three Junin back as quickly as she can. Sakura visits Naruto and Hinata erupts. As Sakura reached the front entrance to the Konoha hospital, she finally stopped running and tried to catch her breath. Her heart was racing at a great pace, and not just from the sprint to the hospital, but also in fear of the Hokage. The look Lady Tsunade leveled on her when she told the Hokage of her failure to visit Naruto sent a chill down her spine. It reminded her of many of the looks she got from her friends the day Naruto was brought back after his fight with Sasuke. She wished she could have explained to Lady Tsunade that it wasn't from indifference why she had not visited Naruto. It was more out of a sense of shame. Sakura realized she had said some very hurtful things to Naruto that day in the hospital. She had no valid reason as to why she did it. She had said to herself that she was just upset over Sasuke and of what had happened, but that was no excuse for saying what she had to Naruto. Since that day, Sakura had remembered all the times Naruto had stood by her and saved her from countless dire situations, all in the act of trying to be her friend. However, she had never reciprocated those same feelings to Naruto, even though deep down she did consider him one of her closest friends. Sakura realized that the reason she hadn't visited Naruto was born solely out of the one emotion she had been feeling this past week, fear. Or to be more specific, the fear of the unknown within her life and future, and of what might happen when she and Naruto finally spoke again. Sakura took a deep breath before entering the hospital. She felt this was one of the hard decisions Lady Tsunade had spoken to her about. Sakura had decided that she wanted to keep Naruto as a friend and anxiously hoped that he would still feel the same about her, as she approached the nurse's reception desk. Hello, I'm here to see Naruto Uzumaki. Sakura said to the nurse behind the desk. Ah yes, I believe he is finishing up lunch. If you'll follow me, I'll tell him he has a visitor. The nurse replied as she motioned to Sakura to follow. As they reached the door of Naruto's room, the nurse asked Sakura to wait a moment while she collected his lunch tray, and inform him of her visit. Hello Naruto, I see you've made good progress on finishing your lunch. You see, It's not so bad once you get used to it. The nurse cheerfully said as she gathered up his tray. Actually, it's still pretty bad, but if eating this slop will get me out of here that much sooner, then I'll do it. No matter how bad it tastes. Naruto replied. Well, whatever it takes to get you to eat is fine with me. I'll be bringing you dinner in a few hours, but until then you have a pretty girl waiting outside to visit you. The nurse said as she exited the room. Hinata. Naruto exclaimed with glee in his voice. Hinata. Sakura thought to herself, as she paused a moment before entering the room and stammering slightly said. No Naruto, it's me Sakura. Hi, how are you feeling? The smile that had been ear to ear on Naruto's face disappeared when he saw his former teammate enter the room. He slowly laid back into his bed and turned his head to look out the window before coldly answering. Hey Sakura, I'm alright I guess. Why are you here? Sakura had seen Naruto's smile disappear when she entered the room, and when she heard the tone of his reply, she suddenly felt sick to herself. Naruto always had a smile for her in the past, and his voice was always one of warmth and friendliness. Now the smile and happy voice she had always secretly enjoyed from him was gone. The fact that Naruto wouldn't even look at her as he spoke was like a kunai to her heart. Sakura masked her pain as best she could and answered. I'm here to see you Naruto, I'm glad you're okay. Naruto continued to stare out the window and didn't respond to Sakura. After several minutes of silence, Sakura nervously asked. You are okay aren't you Naruto? Naruto finally turned his head from the window and looked directly at his ex-teammate before saying. No Sakura, I'm not okay. But I am getting better. Not that I believe you actually care. Of course I care Naruto, I wouldn't be here if I didn't care about you. Sakura replies in a voice that is beginning to quiver with anxiety. Don't lie to me Sakura. If you cared it wouldn't have taken you over a week to visit me. I guess I'm supposed to feel grateful that you finally did is that right? I seem to remember hearing when your precious Sasuke-kun was brought in after his fight with Itachi, that you practically stayed by his side day and night. But then he is the magnificent Sasuke Uchiha and not some how did you put it last week, an idiot who can't do anything right. Well Sakura, you've done your duty, your conscience is clear. You made your pity visit to your former dobe of a teammate. You can go home now and continue planning out your fantasy life with Sasuke, just like you always do. Actually, you should feel pretty happy. Since team number 7 is gone, you won't ever have to deal with me anymore after this caring visit. Naruto sarcastically replies as his anger is beginning to rise within him. Naruto, I'm sorry about what I said to you and I meant to visit you sooner. I've just been upset over Sasuke. Sakura meekly says in a remorseful tone. Same typical Sakura, always with the one-track mind and always about Sasuke. Everything and everyone be damned, especially me. Is that what you're saying? Naruto sharply replies, the tone in his voice rising in intensity. No Naruto, I'm truly sorry about what happened, especially to you. I was just confused that day in the hospital because I didn't know what was going on. So I lashed out at you, but I didn't mean any of it I swear. Sakura pleadingly says. Yeah right, you're sorry. The only thing you're sorry about is that it's not Sasuke here with you right now instead of me. And don't tell me you didn't mean any of those things you said, it's not like I haven't heard them before from you. Naruto responds angrily. Please Naruto, Sakura says, as tears are beginning to well up in her eyes. Please what Sakura? Are you still confused? You still don't know what happened? Fine, go ahead ask me a question about what happened out there. I'll be happy to tell you what that bastard Uchiha and his new friends tried to do. Although knowing you, you won't believe any of it. You just want to know so you can begin to make up excuses for him just like you always do. Naruto replies even more angrily, as his blood seems to be boiling, and unbeknownst to him his recently mended wound is beginning to softly glow red underneath his hospital robe. Naruto I don't want to do this. You're getting upset. Please Naruto stop this. Sakura says almost begging in her tone. No, Sakura. I know you're just dying to hear about your beloved Sasuke-kun. Go ahead, ask me something. I want to hear it right now. Naruto says as his voice is beginning to rise in decibels, and his wound is glowing even more pronounced than before, as he repeated. Now, Sakura. Right now. Sakura didn't know what to do. Naruto's voice had taken on an angry and menacing tone the past few minutes, and it was beginning to scare her a little bit. She was so suddenly taken aback when Naruto shouted for a response again, she blurted out the first thing that came to her mind. Was Sasuke being controlled by Orochimaru when you attacked him, Naruto? Naruto's body became rigid with shock or anger when he heard this. He blankly stared at Sakura, as his face showed no reaction to her query. However, internally Naruto's body that had been building up in stress and anger seemed to kick into overdrive upon hearing this. After a moment, Naruto began to shake with rage and his wound was beginning to not only to glow red, but also to slowly leak red chakra. Finally, in a stammering voice filling with rage, Naruto said, "Wah, was Sasuke being controlled by Orochimaru when I attacked him?" "When I attacked him? That's what you think I did. I went out and attacked Sasuke, you're unbelievable, Sakura, you know that. My mission along with the others was to retrieve Sasuke, not attack him. But that didn't stop your boyfriend and his new buddies from attacking us." "No, Sakura. That snake bastard wasn't controlling Sasuke. Sasuke was more than happy to try and kill me and the others all of his own free will. And he did all of this for the sake of gaining more power. He doesn't give a damn about honor, loyalty, or even friendship. In fact, as I stupidly let Sasuke plunge his hand into my chest, I came to the realization that Sasuke only cares about one thing, Sasuke. And in case you still haven't figured it out yet, Sakura, he doesn't care about you either." "Please, Naruto, don't say that. It can't be true." Sakura woefully wails as tears begin to roll down her cheeks. Watching Sakura cry was the last straw for Naruto. He bolts up in bed and begins to shout at Sakura, as his wound is leaking chakra at an even faster rate. "That's real nice, Sakura. No tears for me, no tears for your friends that almost died. But mention that your traitor Tem of a boyfriend doesn't give a damn about you and look at the waterworks flow. You're so pathetic, Sakura, it makes me sick. You want to know something, Sakura? As I laid there in the valley of the end bleeding to death, I actually believed that you would feel bad about my death even though I wasn't able to bring Sasuke back to you like I promised. Now I realize, you wouldn't have cared if I had died trying to keep that promise, if it meant your precious Sasuke-kun was alive and well. God, I'm such an idiot for believing that you ever gave a damn about me. That's not true, Naruto. I care about you a lot. It's just different with Sasuke. You and I are friends, why would you say such hurtful things?" Sakura asked through her tears. Friends. Yeah, I foolishly believed once that both you and Sasuke were my friends. But one of the benefits of laying in a hospital bed 24 hours a day is that it gives you time to think about many things. Tell you what, Sakura, let's take a trip down memory lane of our supposed friendship and of how much you care about me. Naruto shouts, as he clutches his hand to his chest in discomfort. So upset is Naruto, he ignores the pain and says to Sakura with contempt. "First off, how many times growing up and on team number 7 did you verbally abuse me every time I tried to be friends with you? And if you weren't satisfied with insulting me, how many punches to the head did you deliver to me during that time? Yeah, that's real friendly, you really care about me. Let's think back to our team's first mission together in the country of the wave, protecting Tazuna the bridge builder. Right after Sasuke and I battled Haku, did you ever check or even ask how I was? No, all you could do was run by me to check on Sasuke. You didn't give a crap that I was all torn up and bleeding from the fight. All you cared about was his condition. Oh yeah, how about all the times I saved your life, like when Gaara was crushing you with the Shukaku Sand Demon? Tell me, my good friend Sakura, who was the first and only person you thanked for saving you, even though he didn't do a damn thing? Would you like me to cite more examples of your friendship and of how you care so much about me, Sakura? I can give you dozens of more if you like. But why don't I give you a more recent one? How about when Master Jiraiya and I brought Lady Tsunade back and she healed Sasuke? Did you show me any kindness or even gratitude for doing that, even though I almost died on that mission as well? I don't know why I thought that you might care whether or not I died on this mission. You didn't then, why should it be any different now? Sakura couldn't even look at Naruto as he spoke. Everything he was saying was true and it cut her like a knife with every word he said. All she could do was hang her head low in shame and guilt, crying. Naruto just stared at the young kunoichi that he used to care about with all his heart, and felt nothing at the moment. However, his rising anger had not subsided and he spoke once more. Nothing to say, Sakura. That's fine. I'm sure if you said anything it would be nothing more than some lame excuse or reason to justify yourself of how you've treated me. In fact, now that I look upon our friendship over the years, I now realize we never had one. I did everything I could to prove to you that I was worthy of your friendship, only to be rejected time and time again. But no more, it ends now. I was just deluding myself into believing that you did care about me like I cared about you, but it was just a stupid fantasy on my part. However, for you to sit there and tell me we're friends is insulting, Sakura. In fact, I would have more respect for Sasuke if he was here right now, because he certainly wouldn't lie to my face and call me a friend. Sakura looks up at Naruto, her heart breaking into 1,000 pieces at his words and openly crying stammers out. It isn't true, I'm not lying, Naruto. I am your friend and so is Sasuke. Oh yeah, would a friend to do this? Naruto screams as he rips open his robe and bandage. Sakura is appalled as she sees an ugly jagged scar running 6 to 7 inches vertically on Naruto's chest, a mere couple of inches from his heart. She can see the chakra sutures that have closed the wound, but the sutures appear to be glowing red and a red mist is emanating from the wound. As Sakura is looking, one of the sutures burst and blood shoots out and splashes onto her dress as Naruto screams in agony. Sakura is mortified as Naruto writhes in his bed in pain and she sees another suture give way and more blood begin to leak around Naruto's hand, as he clutches it to his chest. A shocked Sakura watches this in horror for a moment, before in a panic-stricken voice says, "Hold on, Naruto, I'll get help. You must go, Sakura, I don't care anymore. Look at it this way, at least I've given you something to talk about with Sasuke. The life and death of that loser teammate Naruto, who actually believed we were all friends. What an idiot he was." Naruto replied, the pain evident in his voice before he screamed once more as another suture gave way, and he passed out from the pain. As Sakura saw her friend collapse, she screamed, "Naruto number." Just then a medic nin and 2 nurses came rushing into the room. They immediately went by a shaking Sakura to check on Naruto. After a moment, the medic nin shouted, "He's gone into shock and is barely breathing. The chakra sutures are being eaten away by this red chakra and he's bleeding to death. I've got to try and re-suture and strengthen the remaining ones or he's going to die." Sakura gasped when she heard this and began to silently pray that Naruto would be okay. As she watched the medic nin begin to channel his chakra and attempt to restitch Naruto's wound, she heard him shout again, "It's not working. I'm barely slowing the damage down and my chakra isn't doing anything to repair the broken sutures. This red chakra is too strong for me, and the existing sutures are resisting my additional chakra to strengthen them. We need one of the original nins who created the sutures to fix this, or this boy will die in half an hour, maybe less." "Nurse, who was the nin who originally created these sutures?" "I believe it was Lady Tsunade who worked on this patient and perhaps her assistant as well." The nurse quickly replied. "That makes sense, only her chakra-infused sutures could possibly hold up against this strange red chakra. Where is the Hokage? I can't keep this boy from dying without her help. Nurse, call for more medic support and find the Hokage. I need as much chakra as we can get to keep him alive." The medic nin says in a frustrated voice. "I know where the Hokage is," Sakura says from the back of the room. "Well, what are you standing there for? Go get her. I'll do my best to keep your friend alive in the meantime, but you need to hurry." the medic nin said, as he turned his head to look at Sakura. Right, Sakura answers, as she bolts out the hospital room door to retrieve Lady Tsunade. Meanwhile, a cheerful Hinata had just entered the hospital for her daily visit to Naruto, which always brightened her day, when she noticed several medical personnel run by her towards the direction of Naruto's room. She then saw Sakura, who had tears in her eyes and what looked like blood on her dress, race by her and out the main doors of the hospital. Hinata began to feel very uneasy as to what was going on, and she immediately began running towards Naruto's room to see if he was okay. When she reached the doorway of his room, she nearly cried out at the horrific sight that beheld her. Naruto was surrounded by several medic nins and nurses, who were frantically attempting to halt the blood that was spewing forth from Naruto's chest, in ever-increasing amounts. She then heard the lead medic nin says in a panicked voice, "It's no good, we can't stop it. It's taking all of our combined chakra just to maintain the remaining sutures. The ones that have already given way are causing this boy to bleed out. Can't you do any repairs on the broken sutures?" Another nin asks. "No, I can't. Without knowing the pattern Hokage Tsunade used in creating these sutures, I would just be wasting my chakra and time that this patient doesn't have." The lead nin answers in disgust. When Hinata heard this, she shouted at the doctors, "I know the pattern Lady Tsunade used, I assisted her in the operation. Please let me through, I can reseal the broken sutures if you can continue to maintain the remaining ones." "What do you think? She's only a kid," one of the nins said to the leader. "We don't have much choice. I'd hoped our combined chakra could slow the rate of bleeding until the Hokage arrived. But it hasn't worked, and this boy will be dead in a matter of minutes, if we don't try something. Let the girl through," the lead nin says, as Hinata rushes over to Naruto. Hinata showed no noticeable emotion as she began to channel her chakra into a ruptured suture to repair it. The pain she felt inside at seeing Naruto like this again was almost too much to bear. However, she knew that if she didn't keep it together, Naruto would die, and she simply refused to let that happen. As she began to pour more of her chakra into the broken sutures to repair each one, the lead nin who was helping her noticed the increased chakra flow from the young girl and said, "Please be careful, miss, you are depleting a great deal of your own chakra in making these repairs." Hinata glanced up a moment and glared at the nin before saying in a very stern voice, "I'll do what I have to save Naruto's life. You just mind what you're doing and don't get in my way or you'll be sorry." The lead nin was about to reply, when something in the tone of the girl's voice and the look on her face told him she was deadly serious in what she said. However, after a few minutes, he noticed that this young girl had managed to resuture the majority of the broken ones, and the bleeding was lessening with each repair she made. After a moment, Hinata was working on the last broken suture, and when she had finished, the remaining red chakra had dissipated from the wound. In fact, after the suture was tightened, the wound seemingly began to seal itself, to the shock and awe of the nins watching. They didn't know that once again the power of the Kyuubi was in effect to help heal Naruto. The lead nin checked on Naruto's vitals and to his amazement found they had virtually returned to normal, though he was still unconscious from the ordeal. He then turned to look at the young Kunoichi who had saved this boy's life, and found her shaking as she stared at the blood on her hands. Out of concern, he placed his hand on her shoulder and said, "Are you all right, miss? Perhaps you should lie down, you used up a lot of your chakra." Hinata barely registered the doctor's touch and words, as she continued to stare at the blood on her hands when something snapped in her mind, and she pushed the nin's hand off her shoulder and angrily said, "No, I'm not all right, and I don't want to lie down. I want to know how this happened. I'm not sure I'm authorized to discuss this patient's medical treatment with you, miss." The nin replied, "I'm authorizing doctor. I am the firstborn and future head of the Hyuga clan, and a personal friend of the Hokage. You will tell me what's going on, unless you would like to explain to Lady Tsunade why you withheld the information from me." Hinata said in a voice filled with anger, but also with authority. While the lead nin silently debated what to do, the nurse next to him spoke up and said, "We don't know what happened. A young pink-haired girl was here visiting with Naruto, when we heard a scream and came in to find him unconscious and bleeding badly. The pink-haired girl, where did she go? Hinata asks in a voice teeming with rage. She went to go get the Hokage for assistance. The lead nin answered. That's all I need to know. Hinata replied, as she raced out of the room hot on Sakura's heels. As Sakura arrived at the doorway of Lady Tsunade's office, she paused a moment to catch her breath. Her legs were on fire from the sprint to the office, and felt as though they could give way at any moment. Ignoring the pain, Sakura began reaching for the doorknob to enter when she froze at the sound of her name being shouted by the Hokage speaking to someone. None of you is willing to accept Sakura as a student on your team. Hokage-sama, it is not that I am not willing to accept Sakura. The girl indeed has great potential as a shinobi. However, your predecessor asked me to develop a cohesive fighting team that is able to maximize their abilities with one another. The addition of another person into my team would disrupt all the training I have done to achieve that cohesive unity and weaken their fighting ability as a unit. Guy Maeda solemnly says. And you, Asuma, what reason do you have? Tsunade asks. My team was specifically chosen by Hokage Sarutobi to become as formidable strike team as their father's team was. If you recall Lady Tsunade, all three of my students' fathers formed one of the most deadly three-man attack squads this village has ever seen. The addition of a fourth member would be like Guy said with his team. It would ruin all the training they have gone through to work effectively together as a fighting unit. Besides, I already have one spoiled diva on my squad in Ino, I have no desire to add another in Sakura. Asuma calmly replies. You damn men are such a pain in the at times. What about you Kurenai? Tsunade asks the lone Junin Kunoichi. I'm sorry Hokage-sama, I too must decline. I fear that there are extenuating circumstances involved with my team that would prevent Sakura from being accepted as a member. Kurenai politely says. Extenuating circumstances, what the hell are you talking about? Tsunade demandingly asks. At that moment, Sakura remembered why she was there and cursed at herself for pausing while she overheard this conversation. Immediately, she burst into the office to the shock of everyone inside and frantically shouted. Lady Tsunade, you must come quickly. Naruto is in trouble. Sakura, calm down. What are you doing here? What did you say about Naruto? Tsunade says to the panicked Kunoichi. I apologize Hokage-sama, I was visiting Naruto and his wound reopened. The medic nin sent me to get you. He is unable to repair the sutures and Naruto is bleeding to death right now. Sakura quickly replies, the fear and panic evident in her voice. Oh god no. Tell me quickly Sakura, what happened? Tsunade asks in a voice teeming with anguish. I don't know Lady Tsunade. It seems to have something to do with this strange red chakra that is leaking from his wound. The doctors were unable to do anything to combat it and sent me to find you. Please Hokage-sama, you must hurry. They said he doesn't have much time without your assistance. Sakura answers, her voice laden with desperation. Yes, I understand. Sakura, grab that medical bag by the door and bring it to me. We'll leave at once, the rest of you this meeting is adjourned. Tsunade anxiously says. As Sakura picks up the bag and begins walking towards the Hokage, a certain white-eyed indigo-colored hair girl appears at the doorway a few feet behind her and shouts with murderous rage. Sakura, which was quickly followed by another shout of, Byakugan. As she charged at the pink-haired Kunoichi. Sakura automatically turned around at the sound of her name, only to see a chakra-filled hand heading directly towards her chest. She barely twisted her body in time to prevent the blow from hitting her heart chakra line. Even so, when the strike impacted her chest, the right side of her body immediately went numb from head to toe and she crumpled to a heap on the floor. As Hinata raised her arm to deliver another crushing blow, Yuichi Kurenai appeared behind the Hyuga princess and pinned the girl's arms behind her back and shouted. Hinata, what are you doing? Stop this. Control yourself, you could have killed Sakura. Let me go sensei. This whore did something to Naruto. He was fine yesterday, and one visit from her and he almost dies again. I don't care if she dies, if I wasn't so drained of chakra from saving Naruto, my first blow would have done the job. She deserves what she has coming. Hinata screams with vengeance for everyone to hear. Sakura could barely look up, but what she saw scared her immensely. The look on Hinata's face told her that this girl was ready to kill her, and there was nothing she could do about it. Needless to say, the other Junin, Tsunade and Shizune were shocked beyond words that this was the same sweet Hinata that they knew, who was saying and doing what they had just seen. Lady Tsunade finally gathered herself enough to order the young Kunoichi to cease and explain how Naruto is. Naruto isn't going to die, Lady Tsunade. Hinata answers, as she glares at Sakura while still struggling to break free of her sensei's grasp. I was able to re-suture his wound and the red chakra that was leaking from it is contained again. He's unconscious, but I think he'll be alright. No thanks to this, Hinata says with venom as she turns back towards Sakura and continues. What did you do to Naruto, Sakura? What was it? Did you decide that since your scumbag traitor of a boyfriend couldn't kill Naruto, that you would finish the job for him? I hate you, Sakura. You were so lucky to have someone as good and kind and loving as Naruto to care about you. But all you could see was that unfeeling Uchiha bastard who never did anything for you, and not who was right there by your side always. All Naruto's ever done is love you and try to be your friend. You on the other hand have done nothing but insult, bully and abuse him whenever you could. Tell me, Sakura, how many times has Naruto saved your life? In return, did you ever show him any gratitude or kindness for risking his life for you or your boyfriend? No, you didn't, you selfish bitch. The only thing you ever cared about was you and Sasuke. I wish Naruto would show me the kind of love and caring he gave to you, because I certainly wouldn't be stupid enough to throw it away over some traitor who never gave a damn about you anyways. Hinata, if you feel this way about Naruto, why haven't you told him? Kurenai shouts at her student. Hinata stopped struggling after hearing her sensei's words and looked up towards her teacher with tears in her eyes and said, You're right, sensei. I've waited too long and been too afraid of doing that, but I can't wait any longer. Naruto needs to know how I feel. I won't watch him almost die anymore without him knowing. Hinata then deactivated her Byakugan, and Kurenai slowly released her arms and Hinata quietly bowed to the Hokage and apologized before making her way towards the door. As she was about to leave, she turned around and glared at Sakura once more before saying, Stay away from Naruto, Sakura, you've done enough to hurt him. I swear if you ever hurt him again in any way, I'll kill you. Hinata then exited the room, leaving a stunned group of people behind in her wake trying to grasp what they just experienced. After a moment, Kurenai spoke up and said to Lady Tsunade, Does that qualify as an extenuating circumstance, Hokage-sama? Yeah, Kurenai, I guess it does. Lady Tsunade replies as she secretly revels in the fact that someone cares about and loves her grandson as much as she does. Her attention then turns back to Sakura, who is still on the floor, paralyzed on the right side of her body. Tsunade turns to her assistant Shizune and says, Shizune, please help Sakura, and reverse the chakra point Hinata struck on her, so she can move again. No, I will not. Shizune angrily answers back, as she looks at the Hokage with disdain. Shizune, what do you mean you won't help her? Tsunade asks, surprised at her assistant's response. You know exactly why I won't help her. I can't believe you would dare ask me to do such a thing. As far as I'm concerned, I'm sorry the Hyuga girl wasn't able to finish the job. Shizune says with malevolence, as she storms out of the office, leaving the Junins and Hokage even more stunned than before. As Lady Tsunade watched her friend leave, she silently berated herself as she remembered the reason why Shizune would refuse her request. She would apologize to her assistant later for her stupid forgetfulness. But right now, everyone seemed to need a cooling off period. She looked back to Sakura and sighed before saying, I need a drink. Here, Asuma exclaims. Who said you were invited, Asuma? Get out and go train your expert fighting team. Tsunade sarcastically says to the bearded Junin. Yes, Hokage-sama, we'll leave immediately. Asuma replies, as if speaking for all the Junin in the room. No Asuma, Guy and Kurenai may stay, you leave now. Tsunade, annoyed at his response, says, as she slumps down into her chair. As you wish, Lady Tsunade. Asuma quietly replies as he exits the room. I appreciate the offer of a drink, Hokage-sama, but I refrain from alcohol as I feel it would hinder my dynamic energy. Guy says to Tsunade. Not to worry, Guy, you weren't going to be staying either. Take Sakura to the hospital and see that the medic nins take care of her. Tsunade replies. Consider it done, Lady Tsunade. Come, young Kunoichi, you're in for a treat, as you get to experience the legendary speed of Guy Maeda. I'll have you at the hospital in no time. The green-clad Junin says, as he picks Sakura up in his arms and speeds out the door. Sit down, Kurenai, while I get us something to drink. I don't feel like drinking alone, and quite honestly you didn't annoy me nearly as much as your fellow Junin did. Lady Tsunade says to the Genjutsu master. Thank you, Hokage-sama, I am honored. Kurenai replies as she watches the Hokage leave to retrieve the refreshments. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, Naruto has awakened to learn from his doctor what happened. After the medic nin spoke to him, 3 visitors came knocking on the door as all of team number 10 has come to see their friend. They were taking advantage of the absence of their sensei to take the afternoon off and visit Naruto. Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji knew something was amiss as they saw some nurses cleaning up the remnants of some bloody bandages from around Naruto's bed. They all looked at one another nervously before Ino asked. Are you okay, Naruto? Did something happen? Yeah, I'm alright. I got a visit from Sakura and I kind of lost it when she asked if Orochimaru was controlling Sasuke, when we attacked him. Or I should say when I attacked him. Naruto solemnly replies. That ungrateful bitch. Shikamaru angrily says. Don't let it get to you, Shikamaru, or you either, Naruto. Below-board brow isn't worth the effort, you guys. Ino says to both of them. So what happened, Naruto? What's with all the bandages and blood? Choji asks. According to the doc, my wound reopened and they were having a hard time stopping the bleeding. He said they finally did with the help of this young Hyuga girl who re-stitched the wound by using a lot of chakra. It had to be Hinata. I can't understand why she would risk her life doing such a thing when I told her not to. You still can't figure it out, Naruto. God, you're dense. Ino says with frustration. At that moment, Hinata arrived at the doorway of Naruto's room. She saw Naruto was awake and immediately began walking towards him with a determined look in her eyes. Naruto saw her coming towards him and said, Hey Hinata, what do you think you were doing, risking your life for me again? I thought I told you never to do that again. Hinata for her part reached the side of the bed and silently stared at Naruto, not hearing anything that he was saying. As Naruto droned on attempting to scold Hinata, she suddenly grabbed both sides of his face and pulling his head towards hers, kissed him fiercely, much to the shock of everyone in the room including Naruto himself. After a moment, she broke off the kiss and while Naruto was gasping for air, she turned to her friends in the room and said, I apologize to all of you, but if you could please leave. I need to talk to Naruto in private. The team number 10 members just looked at one another and at the Hyuga princess unsure of what to do, before she followed up her request with a resounding. Now, sure thing Hinata, we got to go. Come on guys. Ino stammers, as she begins to quickly push her teammates out the door. Hinata then turned back to a stunned Naruto who was looking at her with puzzlement and said, Naruto, we need to talk. Naruto's decision. Naruto, we need to talk. Okay Hinata. What's up? Naruto nervously replies to the Hyuga princess. Hinata stared for a moment at the boy she loved, before bursting into tears and throwing her arms around him to hug him as tightly she could while she buried her head into his shoulder and weeping said. Oh Naruto, I was so scared when I saw you earlier, all that blood and the doctors talking about you dying. Please Naruto, don't ever frighten me like that again. I don't know what I would do if anything happened to you. Naruto suddenly felt extremely guilty for scolding this girl who had saved his life not once but twice in the past several days. Hearing her voice echo with concern and seeing tears over his well-being, he knew right then and there he'd rather face 1,000 enemy ninjas than see and hear Hinata like this again. As he stroked her hair and continued to hold this girl in his arms, he began to say with remorse. Please don't cry, Hinata, I'm alright. You saved me again, I'm sorry I got mad at you. I didn't mean it, I just don't want to see you get hurt. I don't ever want anything bad to happen to you, Hinata, not over me. Please stop crying and look at me, I really am sorry, believe it. Hinata reluctantly began to loosen her embrace on Naruto, even though she loved the feeling of him being so close to her. She sniffled once and tried to wipe the tears out of her eyes before looking up into his face and saying, I believe you, Naruto. You don't have to be sorry about anything. I'm just relieved that you're okay. Hinata then smiled for the first time since Naruto's near death. Naruto looked at the girl sitting across from him and began to notice for the first time how truly beautiful she is and how very lucky he was to have her in his life. He returned Hinata's smile with his own trademark grin before asking Hinata a question. Hinata, why did you kiss me? Hinata began to blush profusely at Naruto's inquiry, before softly stammering an answer. I kissed you for 2 reasons, Naruto. The first reason is that it seemed a good way to keep you quiet while you were talking. The second reason is because I wanted to. You wanted to. But why? Naruto stutters. Why? Because I like you, Naruto. Hinata replies. I like you too, Hinata. Naruto says, not understanding yet what Hinata is trying to tell him. No, Naruto, I like you. Hinata replies. I'm not sure I understand, Hinata. You mean like boyfriend girlfriend like? Naruto asks. Why, yes, Naruto, like boyfriend girlfriend. Did you ever think about us like that, Naruto? Hinata anxiously stammers with hope in her voice. No, I never thought about us that way. Naruto absently replies. Oh, Hinata softly says, her voice now tinged with sadness. Hinata feels her heart breaking as she slowly begins to rise to leave. Naruto immediately saw the pain and disappointment on Hinata's face and realized he had inadvertently hurt her. He sat up in bed and grabbed her hand to stop her from leaving before saying, Hinata, please don't go. You don't understand. Please sit down, let me explain. Hinata paused a moment as she held Naruto's hand, unsure of what to do. Finally, much to the relief of Naruto, she slowly sat back down and waited to hear what Naruto was going to say. Naruto took a deep breath, before trying to explain what he meant in his response. He nervously began to speak and hoped he was smart enough to convey to Hinata what he felt inside. I'm sorry, Hinata. I didn't mean to hurt you. I never thought about us like that, because I never in my wildest dreams believed a girl like you would ever want a guy like me. In my mind, that just seemed crazy. What do you mean, a girl like me? Hinata asks. Come on, Hinata, you know what I mean. You're kind and smart and beautiful, not to mention you're also a princess of one of the most powerful clans in Konoha. Why would I ever think that a girl as classy and as special as you would have anything to do with a loser like me? Naruto dejectedly says while looking down towards the ground. Naruto, how can you say that about yourself? You are not a loser. That's Sakura and Sasuke talking. You're one of the bravest and strongest shinobi we have in this village. You've saved all of us countless times. You save us every day by keeping the Kyuubi at bay. You're also kind and loyal and always willing to help those in need. Your Nindo is both honorable and noble and you give confidence to those around you. I know you do with me. In my opinion, that doesn't make you a loser. I swear, Naruto, if I ever hear you say something as dumb as that again, I may have to hit you. Hinata quickly responds, annoyed at Naruto's assessment of himself. Naruto was taken aback by the Hyuga girl's response. He never before had anyone defend him as vehemently as she just had. He stared at Hinata, not quite sure of what to say, before he finally asks. You really believe all of that, Hinata? Of course I believe it, Naruto, and I mean every word. Everything I've said to you is true whether you believe it or not. Hinata replies. I believe you, Hinata. You're too nice to lie to me. Naruto answers back. So you see, it's not so crazy that a girl like me, as you put it, would care about you. Hinata softly says. You really do care about me, don't you? Naruto says as he squeezes her hand. Yes, Naruto, I care about you a lot. Hinata lovingly stammers, blushing slightly as she also squeezes Naruto's hand. Needless to say, Naruto was shocked that a girl like Hinata would truly care about him. He thought back to all the times in the past he had been around her, and those memories made him angry with himself. How could he not have seen or known how she felt right in front of his eyes? Naruto couldn't understand why this wonderful girl would care about him so deeply, when he had failed to notice her time and time again. He looked down, as tears began welling up in his eyes. Hinata saw this and concerned asked him. What's wrong, Naruto? Why are you sad? I just don't understand, Hinata. Why would you care about me so much? I'm such a fool. I never saw or knew how you felt. Why would you want to be with someone as dense as me? I was no different with you than Sakura was with me. I ignored you and didn't even realize I was doing it. I'm no better than Sakura. In fact, I'm worse. Naruto said in a choked voice, looking up before a hand slapped him across his face. And an angry Hyuga princess began to say. How dare you say something like that, Naruto? You hit me, Hinata. Naruto says, stuttering and rubbing his cheek. I warned you I would if you said anything dumb about yourself again. Hinata angrily replied, as she stood over Naruto by his bed and continued. I can't believe you would say that about yourself. You've never abused, insulted or treated me badly in any way. You didn't purposely ignore me. I never expressed to you how I felt because I was always nervous and shy around you. But that wasn't your fault but mine. When you did talk to me, you were always friendly and kind and caring. You never treated me like I was nothing. Not like Sakura did to you. Hinata. Naruto meekly says. Quiet, Naruto, I'm not done yet. I'm so angry with you right now for saying something like that, I can barely think. Did you not hear anything I've said to you? Hinata. Naruto says a little louder. I said be quiet, Naruto, I'm doing the talking right now. Hinata sternly replied. Suddenly, Naruto couldn't take it anymore and grabbed Hinata before she could say anything else and kissed her as fiercely as she had him, if not more. Hinata's eyes suddenly grew wide at this action and her body went rigid for a moment, before succumbing to the wonderful sensations she was feeling and began kissing him back passionately. After a blissful minute, Naruto slowly pulled away and a breathless Hinata looked into his eyes and asked. Why did you kiss me, Naruto? I kissed you for 3 reasons, Hinata. The first reason, like you, is that it seemed a good way to keep you quiet while you were talking. The second reason is because I wanted to. What is the third reason, Naruto? Hinata asks. Well, it's not really a reason but more of a request, I guess. Naruto replies. What would that be, Naruto? Hinata says. I want to kiss you some more, a lot more. Naruto sheepishly answers and blushing looks into Hinata's eyes waiting for a response. It took all of Hinata's self-control to keep from fainting upon hearing Naruto's request, before smiling as her heart was filled with joy and quietly said. Oh, okay. This time Naruto lovingly wrapped his arms around Hinata, and she returned his embrace as they kissed once more. Each moaning the other's name in unison as they truly kissed one another for the first time. Outside the room, a certain pink-haired kunoichi had heard the majority of Naruto and Hinata's conversation. Guy Maida's legendary speed had lived up to its reputation and Sakura had arrived at the hospital a mere couple of minutes after Hinata had. The medic nin on duty had reversed the chakra point that had been struck on Sakura, but told her to wait, as full sensation would not be restored for a while. While waiting, she saw Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji walk by and overheard Ino saying. Geez guys, I've never seen Hinata act like that. She was almost scary. What do you mean almost? Do you think Naruto will be alright? Choji asks. Of course he'll be alright, Choji. Hinata loves Naruto. She wouldn't do anything to hurt him, not like Sakura. Ino replied, as team number 10 rounded the corner of the hallway and disappeared. Sakura's whole body bristled at Ino's last statement. However, she wanted to see Naruto and make sure he was okay, and maybe try to salvage anything that was left of their relationship. Slowly she left the medical office and shuffled her way towards Naruto's room. When she got there, she froze when she heard Naruto ask, "Hinata, why did you kiss me?" The rest of the conversation had been nothing more than an affirmation of what Sakura already knew. When she peeked her head around the doorway and saw Naruto and Hinata engaged in a passionate kiss, her heart and mind finally shattered. She knew at that moment that she had lost Naruto as a teammate, as a friend, and as a possible love. In short, she had lost him completely. As much as she wanted to cry out in grief, she found she had no voice left, and no more tears to give. All she could do was slowly walk away and reflect on what could have been. As Naruto and Hinata got to know one another a little bit better, Tsunade and Kurenai were slowly but surely finishing off a very fine bottle of sake. Kurenai recognized the bottle she and the Hokage had been drinking from as the one she had given to Kakashi. She thought about it a moment and decided that complimenting Tsunade on it might be a way to find out about Kakashi's whereabouts. "This is a very good vintage of sake, Lady Tsunade. You have excellent taste." "Thank you, Kurenai. I wish I could take credit for it. I got this from Kakashi as an apology for his drunken melee a while ago. Pretty smart of him, I must say. I was ready to put him through a ringer that day, but he was so polite and spoke so sincerely about Naruto, that I couldn't go through with it. Plus, between you and me, I've always secretly suspected that he's a hottie underneath that mask of his. I wouldn't mind seeing what he's got under there and having a taste of that as well," Tsunade says while laughing and pouring herself another drink. "You have no idea," Kurenai silently thought to herself, as her mind travels back to the night she and Kakashi kissed. After a pause, she snaps out of her revelry and cautiously says, "Speaking of Kakashi, I haven't seen him since then, Lady Tsunade. Do you know where he is?" "Kawashi? I mean Kakashi, yeah, I had to send him out on a very important mission," Tsunade answered, slightly slurring. "Important mission?" Kurenai says. "Nothing too dangerous, I hope?" Her voice edged with concern. "I really don't know. I've been getting some rather disturbing reports about Orochimaru, Sasuke, and the Akatsuki. But it's all been rumor and conjecture, so I sent him out to see if he could find out anything more substantial. I won't lie to you, it could be very dangerous when dealing with that motley assortment of characters. But I can't think of anyone better who could handle themselves against whatever is thrown at him than Kakashi. So, I wouldn't worry too much." "Why do you ask, Kurenai? Is something going on between the two of you?" Tsunade asks the Junin Kunoichi. Kurenai began to blush slightly, and shifted in her chair upon hearing the Hokage's question, before quickly stammering a reply. No, Hokage-sama. There's nothing going on between us. He's just a friend and I was just concerned because I hadn't seen him in a while." Tsunade noticed the blush in Kurenai's face and change in her demeanor. She had made her remark of, "something going on between the two of you," as an innocent joke. Now she was beginning to wonder if something was going on between them. After thinking about it a moment, she laughingly brushed it off in her mind and began pouring another drink. When it came to men, Kurenai was well known as the Ice Queen of Konoha. The idea of her and Kakashi just seemed too absurd to consider. After downing another drink, Tsunade put her cup down and said, "Well, Kurenai, should we go check on Naruto and Hinata right now?" Kurenai looked up at the clock and said, "Let's give Hinata another hour before we check on them, Hokage-sama. I want to give her ample time to tell Naruto how she feels. Yeah, knowing Naruto, she'll have to spell it out for him in big bold letters before my grandson would figure it out," Tsunade absently says, as she downs another cup of sake. "Grandson, Lady Tsunade," Kurenai remarks. Now it was Tsunade's turn to blush slightly and squirm in her chair upon realizing her slip of the tongue before nervously answering. Grandson, did I say that? I meant Naruto." I guess I sort of look upon Naruto as a grandson, if I had one, you know. As Kurenai watched the Hokage quickly pour and down another drink, she pondered Tsunade's reply. For the first time, she noticed that there were similarities between Naruto and Tsunade. The most obvious being that both had blonde hair, and a hair-trigger temper. Kurenai also remembered that while the woman across from her appeared no older than herself, in actuality, her true age could conceivably make her a grandmother. Finally, Kurenai shook off the notion of Tsunade and Naruto relations. The whole idea seemed too preposterous to even consider. However, as she extended her cup to get another drink, a small remnant of the thought would not budge from the back of her mind. As Kurenai was musing over Naruto's heritage, her student Hinata was lost in a world of rapture as Naruto held her in his arms. She had always fantasized what it would be like to hold and kiss Naruto. Now that it was a reality, it was far better than anything she had ever imagined. As much as she never wanted it to end, she began to feel very tired and lightheaded, as she began to collapse in his arms. Naruto felt her swoon and using all the strength he had left, as he too was feeling very weak, eased her down into the chair by his bed and in a voice teeming with concern asked. Hinata, what's wrong? Are you alright? Yes, Naruto, I'm alright. I guess I'm just weakened by all the chakra I used earlier. Please don't worry, I just need some rest. I'll be fine in a while. Hinata replies softly. I'll always worry about you, my Ritaru Hana, little flower, it's just my nature, believe it. Naruto says with care. Hinata began to blush at Naruto's pet name for her. As she placed her hand on his cheek and stroked his face, she said. Naruto, that is the sweetest thing anyone has ever said to me. Well, I mean every word, believe it. In fact, I almost forgot. I haven't given you your flower yet today. Naruto exclaimed, as he reached for the flowers on the side table Hinata had given him to put one in her hair. It had become a private ritual between the two during Hinata's daily visits, one that she secretly loved because it always ended with a kiss on the cheek afterwards. However, this time it wouldn't be a mere kiss on the cheek as Naruto leaned forward once more to kiss his newfound love on the mouth. Once again, as they kissed, each moaned the other's name before fatigue claimed them both and they slumped down. Hinata was the first to speak afterwards. Naruto, I think you need some rest. You too, Hinata, but I don't want you to leave. Naruto replied weakly. I won't leave, Naruto, I promise. Hinata said as she laid her head against his shoulder and wrapped her arms around his as if hugging a pillow. As sleep began to overtake them both, Hinata was the first to go. As Naruto stared at the Hyuga princess with drooping eyes, he heard her softly murmur, my Naru-kun, and clutch her arms around his a little tighter. Naruto smiled upon hearing this, and for the first time in as long as he could remember, he drifted off to sleep with a feeling peace and love that he had never experienced before. A little more than an hour later, Lady Tsunade and Kurenai slowly stumbled their way down the hallway towards Naruto's room. They had stopped off first to get the report on Naruto's condition and speak to the lead medic Nin who had helped in saving Naruto's life earlier. After that, as they made their way towards Naruto's room, both of them silently wondered what they would find when they got there. Kurenai prayed that Hinata had finally gathered the courage to tell Naruto how she felt about him. Tsunade hoped that her grandson would see how much Hinata cared about him and be smart enough to accept it. Something she herself hadn't been able to see and do with Jiraiya in her own life. She didn't want Hinata to go through what Jiraiya obviously had in his life. When they reached the door and opened it, the sight of Hinata curled around Naruto's arm and both of them asleep peacefully with contented smiles on their faces, nearly brought them to tears. After taking a moment to gather themselves, Kurenai spoke first and whispered. Should we disturb them, Lady Tsunade? They both look so at peace. They really do, don't they? Tsunade whispered back. As much as I hate to wake them, I really should check on Naruto's wound, even if the medic Nin said that Hinata did an excellent job. Ahem. Tsunade coughs. Hinata begins to stir slightly, but there is no movement on Naruto's part yet. Ahem. Tsunade coughs a little louder. This time, Hinata begins to slowly rub her eyes and to look about the room before her eyes fall upon Tsunade and Kurenai standing in the doorway. Like being shot out of a cannon, she abruptly lets go of Naruto and quickly stands, her face turning red as she nervously begins to bow and stammer. Hokage-sama, Kurenai-sensei, welcome. How may I help you? Naruto, feeling the loss of Hinata on his arm, begins to stir and groggily sits up while calling out. Hinata, what happened? Where are you? It's all right, Naruto, I'm still here. Please wake up. You have some visitors. Hinata replies while taking his hand into her own. Naruto shakes his head to loosen the cobwebs and looks around before his gaze falls upon the Hokage in the doorway. Oh geez, Hinata, it's only Ba-chan, Granny, Tsunade. The way you were talking, I thought it was somebody important, Naruto groans, as he flops back down into his bed. Kurenai, being slightly inebriated, couldn't stifle her giggle at Naruto's remark before a cold glare from the Hokage made her tremble a bit. Tsunade, for her part, turned her attention back to Naruto and, grinding her teeth, was about to let loose with a torrent of obscenities toward him when Hinata's voice suddenly rang out. Naruto, that's not nice. That is the Hokage, be respectful. You apologize right now. Huh, what, you're kidding right, Hinata? Naruto asks while sitting back up. No, Naruto, I'm not kidding. You apologize to Lady Tsunade. Hinata sternly replies. Come on, Hinata, don't make me do this. Naruto pleads. I mean it, Naruto, right now, Hinata says with authority. Grr, okay, fine. I'm sorry, Hokage Tsunade, please forgive my rudeness. Naruto says with penitence through clenched teeth. He then looks to Hinata for approval and she nods her head slightly and squeezes his hand. Tsunade, absolutely floored by this series of events, turns to Kurenai and whispers. Oh, I am liking this girl more and more, Kurenai. She turns back to Naruto and Hinata and, knowing this will drive Naruto up the wall, says. Thank you for your greeting, Hinata, and I accept your apology, Naruto. You could learn a lot from this girl on how to speak to your elders if you're smart enough to listen. Naruto could only glare at the Hokage while slowly grinding his teeth before he says. Why are you here, I mean Lady Tsunade. If you're here to see me, I'm fine. Who says I'm here to see you, brat? Maybe I'm here to see the firstborn and future head of the Hyuga clan, and a personal friend of the Hokage. Tsunade scoffs, causing a slight yelp to be uttered by Hinata as she remembered what she had said to the doctor earlier that day. As Hinata quickly looked down and began to chew on her lower lip nervously, Tsunade saw the apprehension in her and quietly said. Hinata, please come here. As the Hyuga princess slowly walked over to the Hokage, Tsunade knelt down on one knee and hugged Hinata, much to the surprise of everyone including Hinata herself, and said. Hinata, I'm not upset about what you said. In fact, I would be honored and very happy to be your friend. After the initial shock wore off, Hinata returned Tsunade's embrace and replied. Thank you, Lady Tsunade, I too would like that very much. After a moment they both released one another and Tsunade, still kneeling in front of the girl, said. However, that being said, I can't have you punching out other shinobi whenever you feel like it, Hinata, without some sort of punishment. Huh, Hinata, you hit somebody? Naruto curiously asks. You haven't told him yet, Hinata. Tsunade remarks. No, Hokage-sama. Hinata nervously replies. Don't you think you should? It would be better if he heard it from you. Tsunade says to the nervous girl. Hi. Hinata quietly remarks as she turns and timidly walks over to Naruto. What's going on, Hinata? You hit somebody, are you okay? Naruto asks. I'm okay, Naruto. Yes, I did hit someone. Hinata anxiously answered as she shifts her feet on the floor. So, what happened, Hinata? Naruto says. Well, Naruto, I was very upset when I saw you earlier bleeding and unconscious. After I helped the doctors save you, I found out that Sakura had been here when your wound reopened. I got very angry, Naruto. I'm sure she had something to do with what happened to you. So, I tracked her down at the Hokage's office and I hit her. Hinata meekly says as she nervously attempts an explanation. You punched out Sakura. Naruto replies, in a monotone voice. Hinata could only nod her head, as she looked to the ground, fearful of what was about to happen. She was sure this was the moment Naruto would tell her he hated her and never want to see her ever again. Hinata also knew the moment he told her this she would die, she was sure of it. As the Hyuga princess waited for the axe to fall from Naruto, the response she heard shocked her completely. You giggle punched out Sakura. Giggle, Naruto repeated, trying his best to stifle his laughter. After a moment, he realized he couldn't and he began to laugh uncontrollably while saying. You, ha, hit Sakura. Ha, ha, oh god, Hinata, ha, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Ha, oh man Hinata, you're making my sides hurt. Ha. As Naruto flopped down onto his bed still laughing hysterically while clutching his side, a confused Hinata stammered. You're not mad at me Naruto. Ha. Mad at you? No, why would I be mad at you? I always figured someone would punch out Sakura one of these days. I just can't believe it was you who did it. Ha, Naruto, still laughing replies. You don't hate me then? A hopeful Hinata asks. Naruto laughter slowly subsided when he heard this and said. Hate you? No, I don't hate you. I may not be the smartest guy in world, but I'm not about to start hating my girlfriend the first day she is my girlfriend. Ha. Girlfriend. A suddenly wide-eyed Hinata says. Naruto stopped laughing when he heard this and sitting back up and rubbing the back of his head looked directly at Hinata and sheepishly said. Yeah, I guess I should have asked you about that first, huh? Tsunade and Kurenai both slapped their foreheads in unison upon hearing this. As Naruto began to speak again, he said. Hinata do you want to be my girlfriend? If you don't I understand. But I would be honored if, oh man this is hard, I don't know how to do this right. Please Hinata, help me out on this, I don't want to screw this up with you. Do you understand what I'm trying to say mmmmph? Naruto's last word was suddenly smothered by Hinata jumping into his arms and embracing him, while planting fervent kisses on his mouth and face. After about a minute of this, Naruto finally pulled away and touching his forehead to hers asks. Does this mean yes? Hinata squinted and giggled upon hearing this and quickly answered. Yes Naruto, I would love to be your girlfriend very much. That's so awesome. Naruto replies as he leans down to kiss Hinata once more before hearing a loud cough from Tsunade letting the new couple know that there were other people in the room. Grr. Leave it to Ba-chan to ruin a good time. Naruto remarks. Naruto. Hinata playfully says. Sorry Hinata. I meant Hokage Ba-chan. Is that better? Both Hinata and Kurenai giggled at hearing this, which prompted a very annoyed Lady Tsunade to shout. That's it. I give up. If you've got enough energy to piss me off brat. Then you're doing fine. I'm going back to the office to drink some paperwork. Damn it. Finish some paperwork. Kurenai, I'll leave handling the punishment for Hinata in your hands. After Lady Tsunade left the room with an unseen smile on her face, Kurenai looked to Naruto and Hinata and sighed. She really didn't want to hand out a punishment to Hinata. The truth of the matter was she was as close to Hinata as Guy was to Rock Lee. Kurenai had grown over the years to look upon Hinata more as a little sister than as a student. The smile on Hinata's face right now brought a sense of joy to Kurenai and she didn't want to ruin the moment. As she was about to call Hinata over, Naruto suddenly spoke up and said. Lady Kurenai, please don't a punishment to Hinata, it was my fault she got upset, and did what she did. I'll complete whatever punishment you give as soon as I get out of here in her place, believe it. Damn, why did he have to go and do that for? Like I really want to do this. Kurenai thought to herself. Kurenai looked at Naruto and could see his blue eyes pleading towards her to accept his offer. As much as she wanted to, she knew she couldn't disobey the Hokage. It pained her to reject his offer to take Hinata's place, but she knew she must and said, I appreciate your offer, Naruto. That's very noble of you, but I'm sorry to say I must refuse it. Hinata must learn that there are consequences to her actions. Naruto was about to argue with Junin sensei when Hinata squeezed his hand and said, It's alright, Naruto. I knew I would have to face some sort of punishment for my actions. I'll take whatever I have coming, because I don't regret a single thing I've done. Are you sure, Hinata? Naruto replied in a voice filled with anxiety and concern. I am Naruto, thank you for trying to protect me. Hinata softly remarks. I'll always protect you, Hinata, believe it. Naruto says with confidence, as he smiles at Hinata and she smiles back. Kurenai looked at the two and a sly grin came across her face as she thought of a way to follow Lady Tsunade's orders, without causing any grief to Hinata or Naruto. After a moment she spoke. Hinata, I've decided upon a fit punishment for your actions. When you are not training with your team, you will spend the next 2 weeks of community service here at the hospital helping in the ICU ward. You will help to take care of all the patients in that ward, do you understand? Hinata's smile grew even wider than before, as she rushed over and hugged her sensei while quietly whispering. Thank you, sensei. Naruto was confused at this. Unlike Hinata, he hadn't realized yet that he was the only patient in the ICU ward. When Hinata came back to his side and whispered in his ear what Kurenai had done, he hugged Hinata to him and mouthed a, thank you, to the Genjutsu master as a single tear rolled down his cheek. Kurenai smiled and nodded her head before turning and closing the door behind her. As she walked away, she thought to herself. You've got yourself a keeper there, Hinata, hang on to him, they're rare indeed. I only hope I can find one in my life, as special as the one you have in yours. The next few weeks were uneventful in Konoha, other than the newfound status of Naruto and Hinata's relationship. After Naruto's second life-threatening crisis at the hospital, he began to heal at a remarkable rate. The medic nins were amazed at what could be the cause of this miraculous healing. Tsunade joked that Hinata had something to do with it, as Naruto's blood and chakra flow seemed to increase whenever she came to visit for their talks, which usually didn't involve very many words spoken. After 3 weeks, Naruto had mended enough to be released. After that, very few people saw him or Hinata, as they spent most days together away from everyone. Eventually, some of their Konoha 12 inches classmates had tracked them down at Ichiraku Ramen and set up an informal sparring session between Naruto and some of them for 10 a.m. the following day. The next morning as Neji, Tenten, Rock Lee, Choji, Shikamaru, Ino, Kiba with Akamaru, and Shino patiently waited for the couple to arrive, Neji grumbled. Where are those two? They're late. Take it easy, Neji, they'll be here. You know how much Naruto loves to spar and train. Tenten replied. Besides, knowing those two, their morning make-out session probably ran late. The only times people have spotted them together, they were usually kissing. Ino chirped to the others. What a waste of valuable time. Neji remarked, much to the frustration of Tenten. Suddenly, Akamaru barked and Kiba looked over to see in the distance the couple walking towards them. Their arms wrapped around one another kissing as they approached the training grounds. Kiba then said. It looks like Ino was right, here come the lovebirds now. As Naruto and Hinata arrived, they stopped kissing much to the disappointment of both and greeted their friends. It's about time. If you could pry yourself away from my cousin's lips, Naruto, I'd like to begin. Neji annoyed growled at them, as Hinata blushed furiously. Well, Neji, kicking your butt again isn't as much fun as your cousin's lips, but I guess it will have to do. Naruto replied, eliciting laughter from everyone save Neji, as he gave Hinata one last kiss before she went over to sit with Ino and Tenten. So how do you guys want to do this, one-on-one or all together? Naruto asked. What do you mean all together? Kiba asks. Well, to make it fair, I should probably go up against 3 or 4 of you at the same time. Naruto remarked. A bit, aren't you, Naruto? You may have gotten stronger training with Master Jiraiya, but we haven't been sitting around doing nothing. We're a lot stronger as well since the last time you faced off against us. And you just got out of the hospital a couple of weeks ago, don't you think you should take it easy a little bit? Kiba says with arrogance. I am Kiba, that's why I said only 3 or 4 of you. I'm not back to full strength yet to take on all of you. Naruto calmly says. Fine, whatever, let's just get started. We've wasted enough time on this. Neji scoffs, annoyed at everyone at the moment. That's okay with me, Neji, you guys decide who's going to spar. Naruto says while stretching his arms and legs. I'll be one of your opponents, Naruto, who else? Neji asks. I'm in, Kiba remarks. As shall I, Shino replies. Me too, what about you, Shikamaru? Choji says. No thanks, it's much too troublesome. Shikamaru says, as he lies on the ground staring at the clouds in the sky. I wish I could participate, Naruto, but I don't think you would have too much difficulty with me in my current state. A dejected Rock Lee says from the sidelines, still crippled from his battle with Gaara at the Chunin exams. Then it's settled, are you ready to begin, Naruto? Neji impatiently asks, as all 5 shinobi begin moving into the training area ring. Hinata, is Naruto really strong enough to take on all these guys at once? Tenten asks the Hyuga princess. He is. Hinata replies with great confidence and a large smile on her face. Go get them, Naru-kun. Hinata jumps up and shouts before realizing what she just did, and quickly sat back down again, blushing even more than before. Yes, Naru-kun, come get us. Kiba mockingly says as he makes kissing sounds towards Naruto. Grr. Naruto growls in response. As the girls watch the 5 combatants square off in the training ring, Ino quips to Hinata. Okay, Hinata, spill it. Give us the dirt on you and Naruto. We want to hear all the details. What do you mean, Ino? Hinata innocently asks. Well, for starters, how good a kisser is he? Ino says as she playfully pokes Hinata in the ribs. Hinata begins blushing even worse than before at Ino's question before softly stammering. He's fine, Ino. Come on, Hinata, you can do better than that. Tell us what you really feel. Tenten chimes in. He's wonderful, you guys. I feel so happy and content when we're together, and when he kisses me, I never want it to end. Hinata answers with vigor. Well, let's see the evidence. Let's take a look under this sash you're wearing around your neck. Ino says as she slips a finger behind the sash and begins to pull it back, much to Hinata's distress. Tenten slaps Ino's hand away from the sash and begins to scold her. Stop that, Ino. That's not nice. Besides, if you cause Hinata to blush anymore, her head is going to explode. As the girls continue to grill Hinata about her new boyfriend, Kiba bellows to the other male genin facing off against Naruto. Alright guys, I got first crack at him. Time to show Hinata her golden boy isn't that golden, ha, ha, ha. You ready, Akamaru? Bark, bark. Akamaru responds. Bring it, Kiba. Naruto confidently says. You got it. Let's start off with an improved jutsu of my own and a trick I learned from you. Try this on for size, Naruto. Beast Human Bushin no Jutsu, Transformation Technique. Akamaru is suddenly transformed into an exact duplicate of Kiba. I've seen this one before, Kiba, what's so new about it? Naruto asks. This. Kiba growls. Kage Bushin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Technique. In an instant, Naruto suddenly found himself facing 5 Kibas in the ring. Nice move, Kiba, I'm impressed. One of you is real, 3 of you are shadow clones, and 1 of you is Akamaru. That's a nice little posse you have there, you're pulling out all the stops, aren't you? Naruto says. I won't underestimate you again like I did at the Chunin exams. All the Kibas say in unison. Well, since you've used one of my moves, Kiba, I think I'll use one of yours and call out a partner to help out like Akamaru does with you. Naruto replies. Naruto then begins a series of hand movements and a quiet chant, before biting his thumb to draw out a little blood. He then slams his palm to the ground and shouts. Kuchio's no Jutsu, Summoning Technique. A flash of smoke and light appears on the ground where Naruto struck. After a moment, the smoke begins to dissipate to show a small orange toad, which looks up and jumps onto Naruto's shoulder before saying, "Hey kid, what's up?" Gamakichi asks.